Hello, cuties, and welcome to our Kiki channel. Today, we know new story are ready for listening. Let's get into today's story. Come with us.
Is stretched wide and rivers whispered to the trees, there stood an old weathered monastery at the edge of a quiet village. Inside that humble stone monastery lived 3 monks. They were not known by name. People simply called them the 3 Quiet Ones. They never shouted, never rushed, never boasted. They lived each day like it was a prayer, slow, mindful, and filled with kindness. Though they owned very little, they shared everything they had, a single robe each, a mat to sleep on, and one item that all 3 held dear, a simple wooden bowl. To most, it looked like an old scratched vessel, but to the monks, it was sacred. It was their begging bowl, not a bowl for asking, but for accepting. Every morning, one monk would carry it down to the village, not to plead, but to silently remind the villagers, "We are open to your kindness, and in return, we offer our prayers." Sometimes villagers would fill the bowl with steaming rice, vegetables, or fruit. Sometimes just a few grains. Sometimes nothing at all. But never once did the monks frown. They would bow in thanks, whether the bowl was heavy or light, because for them the bowl was not about food, it was about trust, that the world, when treated with love, would give what is needed. Years passed this way, quietly, peacefully. But one day, the youngest monk looked at the empty bowl and spoke softly. "We have received so much for so long. What if we gave something back?" The oldest monk smiled gently. "And what shall we give? We have no silver, no land, not even a pot of oil." The third monk, who rarely spoke, said, "We have peace. We have each other. That is enough." And so they had an idea, simple but beautiful. They would cook a meal for the whole village, a sharing meal made from whatever people offered. They didn't ask for money. They only asked for a little of what each person had. They cleaned the monastery yard, swept the leaves, hung lanterns made from paper and twine, placed flowers at every corner, and in the middle, on a raised stone table, they set their most treasured possession, the wooden begging bowl. But this time, it wasn't for receiving. It was for giving. They hung a sign above it that read, "From everyone, a little. For everyone, a lot." The next morning, the monks walked through the village. They bowed to the baker, smiled at the blacksmith, sat beside the children, and told them stories of the wind and the moon. They spoke to the farmers, the weavers, the old and the young. "We are making a meal," they said, "but we need your help. Just 1 spoon of rice, just 1 pinch of salt, just a carrot, or even a smile." The villagers were puzzled. Some said, "I have only a handful left." Others whispered, "They have no pots, no pans. How will they cook for everyone?" But the monks smiled, and slowly, gently, the village began to respond. One by one, people arrived at the monastery gates. A child brought half a coconut. An old woman brought 3 beans. A merchant offered a slice of pumpkin. Even the poorest man gave a single clove of garlic, his last. The bowl began to fill. And as the sun rose, the courtyard was no longer quiet. Laughter echoed. People brought pots, firewood, spices, and the monks. They stirred the pot together, humming ancient songs. The meal began to take shape, not just from food, but from togetherness. That afternoon, the villagers sat side by side on mats of straw and cloth, rich and poor, old and young. No one was left out. Not a single mouth went hungry. And the food, it tasted better than any feast they had known, because it was made not from ingredients, but from sharing. As the sun set, the villagers left, their hearts full and hands lighter. The wooden bowl, once again, sat empty. But this time, its emptiness was different. It was the kind of emptiness that comes only after giving. The monks sat around it and smiled, not because they had eaten, but because they had given without asking and received without expecting. And from that day on, once a month, the village feast became a tradition. The bowl stayed at the center, not as a vessel for food, but as a symbol that when each person gives just a little, everyone has more than enough. Moral of the story: true giving comes not from what we have, but from what we're willing to share. Even the smallest offering, when shared with love, becomes a feast for many.
Thank you for watching. Kids, keep smiling, keep supporting for us. And one more thing, please like and subscribe for yours, Kiki. Thank you again. Bye, kids. We meet at next wonderful story. Stay tuned. Bye.